Hi, my name is Dr. Emily Balcetis, and I'm the director of the Social Perception, Action, and Motivation Lab at New York University. You might be wondering about the types of research projects that we do. Well, really, the core philosophy is that I study what my students want to study. And so the topics vary from one year to the next as my students' interests change and the members of our learning community do as well. But really at the core, we all have a fundamental interest in studying motivation. We're interested in understanding what are the obstacles that stand in the way of people meeting their goals. And can we design interventions to help them move around those obstacles in order to increase the odds of success? Really what we're doing is trying to understand what are some of the biggest social challenges that our societies are facing, and can we help shed some light on what stands in their way from accomplishing them. Our core philosophy is that you can't change what you can't see. And so a lot of the research questions that we ask actually come back to this idea of our visual experience. This idea of seeing is really critical to understanding motivation and goal setting and goal success. So for example, some of the questions that we've asked are, what is it that leads people to make unhealthy choices? We've been looking at recently the impact of social media and celebrity endorsements on adolescents' choices for the kinds of snacks that they'll eat. And in particular, what we're finding is that there's a disproportionate impact of minority celebrities' endorsements on the foods that underrepresented minority adolescents are choosing. We're also interested in exercise and physical activity. In the United States and across the world, there's been an uptick in inactivity and a downtick of exercise. We're trying to understand, how do people's visual experiences get in the way of them exercising to their fullest capacity? And can we design instructions or a strategy to help them look at their world differently? And will that motivate them to move more often, and to have it not hurt as much? We're also interested in looking at representation in leadership. There's a lack of diversity in leadership in terms of gender, in terms of racial identity, in terms of sexuality, a whole host of demographics. And we're trying to understand if there's ways that if there are ways that we can try to diversify the leadership that are out there. One facet that we're looking at are underrepresented minority middle school and high school students' beliefs about leadership. When they think about what a leader looks like, what's the image that comes to their mind? And can we find ways to help support a more diverse mental image as they think about leadership? Now, we think that this is important because what that iconic images of a leader in children's minds does is actually inform their beliefs about what's possible for themselves in the future. So as we study this question with adolescents, we're also looking at ways that we can design workshops to build their beliefs in their own leadership capacity. We're trying to build their own leadership self-efficacy in the process of studying what they think leadership looks like. We're also interested in bias in the legal system. A number of our research projects are trying to understand, what is it that people are doing when they're watching visual evidence? And is there something about those experiences when they're taking in the evidence that is getting in the way of their goal of being a fair and just juror? Now, some of the techniques that we use to study this question and others is eye tracking. So this is an image of what our eye tracker looks like, and it's pretty cool because embedded within the frame are actually sensors that track the location of eye gaze, the duration, pupil size, and a whole host of other features. Now, this technology has been really important for helping us to investigate and to discover things like people don't realize that when they're acting as a juror that their eyes are betraying their true interest in actually being fair and just. But we've also discovered that we can help give different instructions for how they should watch the video evidence or other visual evidence, and they actually can follow those instructions. They can look differently in ways that they didn't even realize that they weren't doing in the first place, and we can mitigate some of that bias that we're seeing in legal decision making. We've used eye tracking in the context of understanding how people consume social media and the impact that it's having on their health decisions, for instance. So these are just some of the questions that we're asking right now. There's, of course, a whole host of other questions that we can ask as people's goals are multifaceted. What people are working to accomplish is really quite diverse. And so, too, are the questions that we ask in our research lab. Thank you.